So I would be, I would write down how I'm feeling in my journal, but my hands hurt and I don't want to journal, so I'm just gonna talk into a voice. I'm very upset right now. I'm trying to write down my life story, but I haven't been able to, and it's like, I don't know, I just want to sort through the feelings that I'm feeling. Hi, my name is Priya Dahia. I'm 17 years old. I was born on October 1st, 2001, at Sibley Hospital in Washington, D.C. I don't really know what else. I'm a performer.
Because of us, things came together. Everything was possible. I had not known before us that every vein in my body was capable of carrying light. Like a river seen from a train makes a channel of sky etch itself deep into a landscape. I had not really known I could be so much more than myself. I had not known another body could do this to mine. Now I'd become a walking fuse, like in that poem about the flower and the force, and the green fuse the force drives through it. The force that blasts the roots of trees was blasting the roots of me. I was like a species that hadn't even realized it lived in a near desert till one day its taproot hit water. Now I had taken a whole new shape. No, I had taken the shape I was always supposed to. The shape that let me hold my head high. Me, Anthea Gunn, head turned towards the sun.
My father fulfilled his vows to the gods and called me Iphis, his grandfather's name. This pleased my mother because it was used for either sex and meant she could use it without deceit. So the falsehood, inspired by her motherly instinct, went undetected. The child was always dressed as a boy, and whether you'd think her a girl or a boy, her form and features were lovely to look at.
If my life was a story, it'd start like this. Before she left, my mother gave me a compass, but when I tried to use it, when I was really far out, lost at sea, the compass didn't work. So I tried the other compass, the one that my father had given me before he left. But that compass was broken too.
So you looked out across the deep waters, and you decided, by yourself and with the help of a clear night and some stars, which way was north, and which way was south, and which way was east, and which was west. Yes?
Yes. Then I said it again. Yes.
Now do you want to know mine? 13 years had gone by when Iphis's father arranged a marriage between his son and a fair-haired girl called Ianthe. This girl was famed for her beautiful looks, a dowry indeed among the maidens. Equal in age as well as in beauty, the two young children received their earliest lessons in school from the self-same teachers, hence their falling in love with each other. Their innocent hearts were aglow with a similar fire, but their expectations were different. Ianthe looked forward with joy to the wedding night they'd agreed on, and thought that the lover she took for a man was her man-to-be. But Iphis loved without hope of ever enjoying her love, which made her passion the stronger, a girl in love with a girl. Now do you want to know mine?
I do.
It begins one day when I come down a ladder, off an interventionist act of art protest, and turn around and see the most beautiful person I've ever seen. From that moment on, I'm home. It's as if I've been struggling upstream, going against the grain until that moment. Then we get married, me and the person, and we live together happily ever after, which is impossible both in story and in life, actually. But we get to. And that's the message. That's it. That's all.
What sort of story is that?
A very fishy sort.
It sounds a bit lightweight as stories go,
I can be heavy-handed if you want.
she said.
Fancy a bit of heavy-handing? Or would you prefer something lighter? You choose.
Then she held me tight.
Lo and behold.
You're very artful, you.
Oh, what will become of me now? I'm possessed by a love that no one has heard of, a new kind of passion, a monstrous desire. If heaven had truly wanted to spare me, it ought to have done so. If not, and the gods were out to destroy me, he might at least have sent me some natural, normal affliction. Cows never burn with desire for cows, nor mares for mares. Ewes are attracted to rams, and every stag has his hind. The same with the mating of birds. Throughout the animal kingdom, the female is never smitten with passionate love for a female. I wish I had never been born a woman. I wish I were dead. Even if all the skill in the world could be mustered here, what on earth could I do? Could God use his arts to transform a girl like me to a boy? Iphis, you must be brave now and take control of your gnashing. Shake off this reckless and foolish passion. Remember what sex you belong to, unless you can cheat yourself with your own ruse.
Though actually, the telling of it went much more like this.
A long time ago, on the island of Crete.
I've been there. We went there. We had a holiday there when we were kids. We spent a lot of it at the hospital in Heraclion, actually, because our dad went to hire a motorbike to impress this woman in a motorbike hire shop. And before he'd hired one, he rode it a few yards around a corner to get a feel for it, and fell off it and scraped the skin off half the side of his body.
A long time ago, long before motors, long before bikes, long before you, long before me, back before the great tsunami that flattened most of northern Crete and drowned most of the Minoan cities, there was this woman who was pregnant. Her husband came to her and he said, "Listen, I'm really praying for two things. First, that this baby gives you no pain in birth." She acted correctly for her time, thanked him for even considering so graciously from his man's world where women didn't really count that there'd be any pain at all involved for her. "And what's the other thing you're praying for?" she asked. When she said this, the man, who was a good man, looked very sad. The woman was immediately suspicious. Her husband said, "Look, you know what I'm going to say. The thing is, when you give birth, if you have a boy, that'll be fine. We can keep it, of course, and that's what I'm praying for." "Uh-huh," the woman said. And if you have a girl, we can't," he said. "We'll have to put it to death if it's a girl. A girl's a burden. You know it is. I can't afford a girl. You know I can't. A girl's no use to me. So that's that. I'm so sorry to have to say this. I wish it wasn't so, and I don't want to do this, but it's the way of the world." So the woman went off to do some praying of her own, and as she knelt down in the temple and prayed to the nothing that was there, the goddess Isis appeared right in front of her. So Isis thanked the woman for the constant faith she had in things and told her not to worry. "Just give birth as per usual and bring up the child," she said.
As per usual? A goddess used the phrase "as per usual"?
"The gods can be down to earth when they want,"
she said.
The woman was very happy. She went and stood under the night sky and held her arms out open to the stars. And the time came for the baby to be born. And out it came. And it was a girl.
Of course.
To keep her child, the wife brought her up as a boy. Lucky for Isis, she looked rather good as a boy, though she'd have looked very handsome as a girl. She was certainly every bit as handsome as her friend Ianthe, the beautiful, fair-haired daughter of one of the finest families on the island.
I think I see where this is going.
Aim to achieve what is right, and love as a woman is bound to. Love cannot be born, it cannot be nourished without some hope. But your situation is hopeless. You're not kept off from your lover's embraces by guards, the watchful eye of a jealous spouse, or a troublesome father. She doesn't herself reject your advances. But still, you can never come to possess her. Whatever may happen, for all the efforts of gods or of men, you cannot be happy. So far, to be sure, not one of my prayers has been refused. The gods have been kind and have granted me all that they possibly could. My wishes are backed by my father, Ianthe herself, and Ianthe's father. It's nature alone, more powerful than all, who opposes the match and is out to destroy me. Look, the day that I long for, my wedding day, is approaching. Ianthe will soon be my wife, but not to be my own. Surrounded by water, we'll die of thirst. Oh, Juno, goddess of marriage, why are you gracing a wedding between two brides, where the groom has failed to appear?
She said.
She said.
She said.
She said.
With that, her complainings ceased. Ianthe's emotions were also in violent turmoil. She prayed to God to speed his arrival. Her longing was matched by the fear which troubled the mother of Iphis, who kept postponing the marriage and playing for time by pretending illness or pleading omens and dreams. But soon her fictitious excuses were all used up. The moment for lighting the torches was almost upon them, and only a day remained. She clung to the altar of Isis.
O goddess who haunts the ports, the lakes, and the lighthouses, who dwells on the Nile which divides itself into 7 branches,
she said,
help us, we pray you.
The altar of Isis stirred, apparently moved by the goddess. The doors of the temple trembled, the moon-like horns of the statue shimmered with light, and the sound was heard of the rattling timbrel. Still anxious, but heartened at least by such a propitious omen, the mother then left the temple, and Iphis followed behind her.
With longer strides than she normally took, her girlish complexion had lost its whiteness, her limbs grew stronger, and her features sharpened. Her bandless hair seemed cut to a shorter length. She felt a new vigor. She'd never enjoyed as the female she'd been till a moment before.
He said.
That female was now transformed to a male. Dawn broke on the following day, and the world was flooded with sunshine. Venus, Juno, and Isis assembled close to the nuptial torches, and Iphis the boy then won his beloved Ianthe.
Girl meets boy, I said, in so many more ways than one.
Old story,
Robin said. I'm glad it worked out.
Good old story,
Robin said.
Now what shall we do?
Bed, I said.
And off we went, back to bed.
We were tangled in each other's arms so that I wasn't sure whose hand that was by my head. Was it hers or mine? I moved my hand. The hand by my head didn't move. She saw me looking at it. It's yours. I mean, it's on the end of my arm, but it's yours. So's the arm. So's the shoulder. So's everything else it's connected to. Her hand opened me. Then her hand became a wing. And everything about me became a wing, a single wing. And she was the other wing. We were a bird. We were a bird that could sing Mozart. It was a music I recognized. It was both deep and light. Then it changed into a music I'd never heard before, so new to me that it made me airborne. I was nothing but the notes she was playing, held in air. Then I saw her smile so close to my eyes that there was nothing to see but the smile. And the thought came into my head that I'd never been inside a smile before. Who'd have thought being inside a smile would be so ancient and so modern both at once? Was that tongue? Was that what they meant when they said flames had tongues? Was I melting? Would I melt? Was I gold? Was I magnesium? Was I briny? Were my whole insides a piece of sea? Was I nothing but salty water with a mind of its own? Was I some kind of fountain? Was I the force of water through stone? I was hard, all right, and then I was sinew. I was a snake. I changed stone to snake in 3 simple moves. Stoke, stake, snake. Then I was a tree whose branches were all budded knots. And what were those felty buds? Were they antlers? Were antlers really growing out of both of us? Was my whole front furring over? And were we the same pelt? Were our hands black shining hoofs? Were we kicking? Were we bitten? Were our heads locked into each other to the death? Will we break open? I was a she, was a he, was a we, were a girl and a girl and a boy and a boy. We were blades. We were a knife that could cut through myth. We were 2 knives thrown by a magician. Were arrows fired by a god. We hit heart. We hit home. We were the tail of a fish. Were the reek of a cat. Were the beak of a bird. Were the feather that mastered gravity. Were high above every landscape. Then down deep in the purple haze of the heather were Roman and a gloamin' and a brash, unending Scottish piece of perfect jigging, reeling, reel. Can we really keep this up? This fast, this high, this happy, round again, another notch higher. Whew! The perfect jigsaw fit of one into the curve of another, as if a hilltop into sky. Was that a thistle? I got up to get us a drink of water, and as I stood in the kitchen in the early morning light, running the water out of the tap, I looked out at the hills at the back of the town, at the trees on the hills, at the bushes in the garden, at the birds, at the brand new leaves on a branch, at a cat on a fence, at the bits of wood that made the fence. And I wondered if everything I saw, if maybe every landscape we casually glanced at, was the outcome of an ecstasy we didn't even know was happening. A love act moving at a speed slow and steady enough for us to be deceived into thinking it was just everyday reality.